And it's Dr. Arlene Diamco, the MultiDimensional MD. My mission is to help wake up medicine and bring the intuitive aspects of health back to medicine in practical and tangible ways so that you can access greater depth of healing and experience more peace, love, and joy in your everyday lives. Today, as always, every week I meditate on what to talk about. And today, for some reason, love and healing came up. This is such a big concept. And if you were to ask me in brief, like, what does love have to do with healing? Well, my first simple response would be everything, because I don't know how to approach healing without love. You won't get the same depth of healing for yourself or for others. And then I wanted to break down some components of how you can incorporate more love into your healing, into your self-healing for helping your loved ones, and ways you can do that. So the first thing is I wanted to back up and just mention some science about love and healing and talk a little bit about the biofield. What's really interesting is that the biofield is a term now accepted by the NIH, National Institute of Health, for research, which is really amazing. So what is the biofield? Well, Shamini Jain, who is a researcher, a PhD researcher, and a psychologist, she has written a book, Healing Ourselves, Biofield Science and the Future of Health. And so one of her definitions of the biofield are as a sets of interpenetrating, interacting fields of energy and information, some of them dense and electromagnetic in nature, and some more subtle in nature. So these are everything, like all of our energy field, or what I call for the kids, your rainbow around you. So we have so many dimensions to us as a human being, and a lot of them we cannot feel, see, hear with our ordinary senses, but you can feel it somehow in other ways. So sometimes if I have a patient and I'll be explaining this to them, it's the difference if you're sitting here and you're in your own, your presence, your consciousness is in your own body. And so you give the other person a lot of space to be and just to be themselves, versus if you started like staring at somebody and what that feels like. So if I'm staring into the camera like that, that feels different than if I'm relaxed and kind of like sitting more into my space. So that staring actually creates an interaction where you feel like you might feel some sort of pressure from another person's biofield onto your biofield. It's like when you feel like people are looking at you or somebody's watching you, but you don't know where. It's that sort of feeling. Or if you're on stage and you have so many eyes on you, what that feels like, versus if you're, freely on your own outside, don't feel like anyone's watching you. That's why they say, there's that saying, it's like, dance like nobody's watching you, because you just get to be, you feel free to completely be yourself. There are other definitions to the biofield, and some of them include things like endogenously generated, meaning that this is energy that is being made from within you. It's coming from within you. It is the light of your being. Another definition incorporates that the biofield helping to regulate the homeodynamic function of living organisms physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. Homeodynamic is a way of saying tends towards balance, goes towards balance. So we have this built-in function within our beings to help regulate us, to help us go towards balance. And we know that the biofield also contributes to information transfer. So we connect with each other through this biofield, through this energetic field around us. HeartMath has studied not just the biofield, but the heart field, which is a big part of your biofield. It is that your heart field is that electromagnetic field of the heart, which is the largest electromagnetic field of the body. It is 6,000 times greater than that of your brain. So if we want to know who is supposed to be in charge, it is your heart that's supposed to be in charge. Your heart also has many more connections going, nerve connections from the heart to the brain than from the brain to the heart. So it's just another way of looking at things, even through anatomy, that your heart is supposed to be in charge. And we know from HeartMath research that our thoughts and emotions affect our heart field. Remember, the heart field is a big part of the biofield. So our thoughts and emotions also affect our biofield. And our biofield is important in regulating our health and tending towards balance. So you can start to see like, oh, okay, wow, love and that powerful emotion feeling of love can really impact all of our health. And it can start from that energetic field and then kind of make its way manifest into the physical. And we also know from Lynn McTaggart's research, here's one of her books, The Power of Eight. She's a journalist that has studied the power of intention, including group intention. So if a group of 8 people or any group of people gets together and has a loving feeling, a loving intention for something else, whether it's a plant, a body of water, or another person. They have done so many studies on how that can help. It can actually help to clear water. It can help a plant grow more and healthier. It can help a person in whatever the healing that they're in need of. So love is essential in healing. And so let me go through some ways that you can access that. I'm going to tell you some stories as well through my own experiences and my professional experiences. So one is feeling through your hurts. I say a lot that the reason that you hurt is because you love. You love yourself or you love another. If you allow yourself to feel through your hurt, it can actually create an expansion in your heart field. So what you can do is to embrace that hurt like a little baby that's crying. Just cradle that emotion into your arms, breathing into it, saying, I see you, I hear you, I love you. This is something that you can say to yourself. You can say to loved ones. I love you no matter what. I see you. I hear you. I love you. And recently, one of my daughters said this to me. There was some arguing at home between the kids and just having to navigate that. And I knew the other sister, she didn't mean what she had said. So I said, oh, well, she didn't mean it. And then my other daughter, she said, you're not letting me feel hurt. And that was a really interesting way to approach it. You're not letting me feel hurt. And part of that was like, well, even though someone said something, they didn't mean to hurt her feelings, she still felt hurt. And so that was part of my learning, like, oh, okay, I need to show her that I see and understand her as well. It's not just the person, it's not about taking sides. I guess we talked about this in the Creating Calm podcast recently. So that will go out next week, but navigating those parenting dynamics with kids and siblings and all that. So, but it was she was asking me to see her and hear her, even when she was hurt. So when someone is hurting, it can sometimes be hard for people to be around them. I mean, it's hard for us as parents, right, to see our kids hurting. We don't want to see it. Sometimes we want to get in fix it mode. But her point was, you need to acknowledge my hurt. So if you don't know what to say or do, that's okay. You don't have to. Just being able to sit with someone in their hurt is so much. It just shows you that you can love them no matter what. You can love them no matter what state they're in, even if they're hurting. So that first step is to be present with that love and knowing that you hurt because of love and the other person hurts because of love. And your love will help to guide you. So if you step into that, just being able to sit in that and be okay with discomforts, whether your own or someone else's, then that can help you so much. You can do this for any symptoms you have. You can do it for any, talk to various parts of your body, and you can just say, like, if you have any like little wound or even a little blemish, and this works great for like for viral things, for warts or molluscum, for indigestion, for headaches. You can just hold that part and say, I see you, I hear you, I love you just as you are. I accept you just as you are because you are a part of me. You can stay or you can shift. I trust that whatever you do and however things unfold is for my highest healing. I love you no matter what. And then just feel and listen, and whatever thoughts or emotions come up, be gentle with them and breathe through them and allow them to be in this love nest that you created for yourself. I've used this for myself with all those issues I mentioned. I've used this with patients, and you can, it's so simple in a way, but it does take some courage, because to be able to face a fear head on directly, or any discomfort directly, takes some courage, because nobody wants to feel uncomfortable. Nobody wants to be suffering, but to be able to embrace it in that way can really help things process for you and for others as well. You're sitting with your kids or just helping them through things. The next thing is accepting contradictory emotions, because as you listen and feel, so much can come up, and you may fight some of them, because some, like, you might say like positive affirmations like I trust in myself, but maybe a part of you doesn't believe that, so you have to be able to listen to that as well. I just recently had a woman come in with chronic illness. She's on long-term therapy for it. And then she had, on top of that, she had an acute sinus infection and been lingering for more than a week. And it was really bringing her down. So she came in for treatment, and what I felt was just this heaviness and this sadness within her. And she had already moved through a lot of sadness before, but then with this new illness, acute illness on top of a long-term illness, I could feel the weight of it bringing her down. So I talked to her about that, because it was difficult to get some of this heaviness to lift, just me on my own. So it's like being able to participate in your own treatment is so empowering. So I talked to her about the sinus infection and even illness in general, as sometimes, it's a way of the body of clearing things out, to detoxify like old things, to just bring stuff that was buried underneath the surface up to the surface. So then you feel it, you'll get the symptoms of it, the congestion, the pressure, the discomfort, the emotion that brings up with it. So it comes to the surface, and then you have this opportunity to process it. But in order for it to process, you cannot resist it. That is the trick. It's like not resisting what comes up, but that can be really hard if you don't feel good. So I've worked with her before, and she's like, oh, okay, to accept it, to not resist it. And she's like, so she started doing that, and things started to lift. But there was still something, it was like, there was still a bit of a tug of war. It was starting to lift, but still wasn't moving with as much flow and as ease as it could. So then I said to her, even though you accept this sinus infection on top of what you're already going through, I realize a part of you also feels really sad about it. Like, maybe I'll never get better. There was this thought going through her head, like, maybe I'll never get better. I could feel that in her body. And so when I brought that up, it was a way of acknowledging it, a way of seeing it, and like bringing it to her consciousness as well. And I said, it is okay to feel both at the same time, to even be thankful for this illness, for clearing out things, to not resist it, to accept this illness. But at the same time, I feel sad about it and feel like, oh, there's part of me feels like I'll never get better. They feel like they're pulling in two different directions, but they can coexist. This is the paradox of being human, that we can feel multiple things at the same time, and they can be contradictory. So I said, it is completely okay for you to feel that as well. You don't have to resist that. So part of you knows that this is helping you. Part of you feels bad and doesn't want to feel this way and feels sad about it and is grieving about it. Let yourself feel all of it without any resistance, and I will be here with you and to help you through it. So you don't have to be afraid. Anything is going to happen while we're going through this process. So she trusted in that, and she did it. She accepted all of that, the acute illness, the ongoing illness, the sadness that she felt about it all. And then in that moment that she did it, it was like a small miracle, because all of a sudden this congestion and pressure in her head started draining, and she felt it, and she said, it's draining. And she, all of a sudden this big smile came to her face, because it was a small miracle for all she is going through. It was amazing. And she did this for herself. I was really just there to assist, but she accessed this love for herself, this accepting all of herself. And through that, in that moment, it was just this miraculous quantum effect where this congestion had been feeling more than a week and putting a lot of pressure in her head, just started draining and releasing. It was amazing, but this stuff can happen all the time. So that's why I'm sharing this with you. And that last part of just trusting your soul. So knowing that somehow you're going through this for a reason, a purpose, you may not know what. And it's like, what does your soul need to grow in this moment? And I've had this like personally in my life, when my husband was sick years ago, and it changed my perspective of healing, because to see what he was going through and to see what regular medicine, conventional medicine had to offer, which was more heroic medicine. So we're talking about surgery, radiation and stuff like that. So it's really big, but then they didn't have anything to say for the ongoing healing, the nutrition, of how to care for yourself, of what does this mean? What did this illness mean in overall life? So they had nothing to say about that. It was just more like, cut it out and be done with it. But I wanted to know, why did this happen? And there were multiple things that had occurred, and I knew they were related somehow, but medicine didn't have answers for me. They couldn't tell me how they were related. And so I learned how they were related by going deeper and expanding my perspective in these multiple dimensions, and learned to understand, like, oh, okay, we can start to interpret these symptoms, these things that we're going through, even life that we're going through, as messages to us, of what they can mean to us. I've experienced this in giving birth to each of my daughters, 4 different hospitals, 4 completely different experiences, some better than others, but each one helped me expand my perspective of, what do I need to feel safe for healing? Because when my needs weren't met, it made me look at why that was. So I had to expand my perspective to understand why this was not a healing experience for me, why this was, well, not in a straightforward healing. Like, what else did I needed to feel supported and loved? And so those are things that I incorporate into my personal and professional life now. And even though at the moment, those experiences didn't seem like they were healing, in a way they were, because it made me look at things differently. In an instant, my perspective was expanded, and I was able to see things from a multi-dimensional view. Whereas if I hadn't gone through those things, I would maybe have gotten these perspectives, but maybe more slowly. So sometimes we go through these challenges and rough spots in our life to be able to kind of quantum expand our perspective, if we let ourselves. And the way you let yourself is to love yourself through it and see, what can I get out of this? How can I grow through this that can help me going forward and can help me help others? So this is how I see love and healing, and these ways you can access for yourself, for your loved ones, for your own self-healing. And if you do this, it will enhance and deepen your experience of healing on so many levels. And I'm happy to help you through this. If you come in for an appointment, we go through these things. And if you would like to go through them in more depth and there's questions or things you have about it, then I love talking about this stuff. So feel free and safe to talk about anything with me. And you being interested in your own healing is already so empowering. So I love your questions and your comments and your feedback. And if you just hopped on, then you can go through all the timestamps, the Biofield, and then feeling through your hurts and how to do that, accepting contradictory emotions and ways to do that, and then how to trust in your soul to access greater healing. So thank you so much for joining me. Please, as always, like and subscribe. If you have any comments, you can leave them below. I will be happy to get back to you. And if you'd like to connect with me, otherwise, you can on Instagram on All Worlds Health, on Facebook, All Worlds Health and Pediatrics, or on my website, allworldshealth.com. And you can sign up for my e-love letters. I send them out once a week on Wednesdays. And I will meditate again next week on whatever is needed to talk about. It's usually something I know that multiple people need to hear. And anytime I sit down and meditate and listen to what comes through, then I always hear from somebody that, thank you so much for talking about this, because I really needed to hear it. And so I wish you the very best. Lots of love to you. I believe in you, so I hope you believe in you too. I will see you next week, Wednesday, 11 a.m. Eastern Time, for another episode of the MultiDimensional MD.